Olá, sou o Miguel Falcão, de Coimbra, Portugal. Estão a ouvir o Yes Music Podcast.
As promised, I managed to speak to Tom Brislin about Yes and his latest project, The Sea Within. So here's that conversation. I think Tom was in his car at the side of the road, but don't let that put you off. After our chat, Mark will be here to review the new album, and then we will compare notes. Well, I'm delighted to welcome back onto the podcast Tom Brislin, who's been here before talking about the Yes Symphonic Tour, but this time we're going to be talking about some rather different things. So, hello, Tom.
Hello, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. As I say, it's brilliant to have you back on the podcast to talk about, first of all, The Sea Within. Now, we're used to seeing you as a live instrumentalist and vocalist with Yes, Meatloaf, Renaissance, and a host of others. So what was it that attracted you to joining this new band as a member, and how did it come about?
I had worked with Roine Stolt in previous projects, including the Anderson Stolt album, which you may know.
Yes.
And I actually met him years ago when my original band, Spiraling, was playing at Cal Prague Festival. I believe it was 2005. And he was there with the Flower Kings and also with Jonas Reingold. And we sort of had a mutual admiration society for many years. And when he contacted me to be a part of Anderson Stolt, that was a real thrill. But it was still sort of a ready-made project that I was just going to kind of put my stamp on and play some things. And it was also a great way to get working with John again, who... You know, John Anderson and I had also been trying to find ways to work together, and still are, actually. But with The Sea Within was something that he and Jonas both contacted me about and said, hey, we've got a new collaborative project. And I jumped at the chance because, like you mentioned, a lot of people in this community know me for being a touring musician or session musician. But I've always been a writer. And I been touring up and down the U.S. with my band Spiraling for years, and we were sort of a different breed. We didn't really fit neatly into the progressive category. We were more of like a modern rock, synth rock, whatever you want to call it. But we got a lot of goodwill from the progressive fan base because of my work with Yes, which then led to Camel and The Sin and Renaissance, et cetera, et cetera. So I was sort of grandfathered into this this ecosystem. And so, but now with Roine and Jonas saying, hey, we're going to write together, where we're each going to submit material, and it's going to have the support of Inside Out and Sony Music, it was very, very appealing to me.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about Roine Stolt then, particularly, because, as you say, we know him from the Invention of Knowledge and many other places as well. So what's he like to write and record with?
The most fascinating thing about Roine, in my opinion, is his prolific nature. I mean, he is just always creating, and I find that very inspiring. And it's something that I aspire to, actually. I want to wake up in the morning and create music until the day's over. And that's what he does. He's always writing, he's always performing, and he just loves all kinds of music. And everything that he does it's like a celebration of music. All the sounds and ideas that he loved growing up and in his musical world, he's always referencing that and tributing that and pushing forward to create new music.
And what about the Invention of Knowledge? I mean, it's an album that I listened to quite a bit. There's so much going on in it. Was that something which was a highlight for you to produce alongside people like Roine Stolt and John Anderson? I
think it was really important for me to get in the studio and be a part of a studio project with John Anderson, especially, and also with everyone else involved. And so I went to Sweden to a beautiful remote studio, and we were just getting into it. But yes, as you alluded to, it's a very dense project. It's just so chock full of content that I just had to jump in there and just play. And that's the thing. It was kind of like reliving all the fun parts of the excessive aspects of the Prague era. And John was very, very into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, let's get back to The Sea Within, though, because that's what we're principally here to talk about today. And I've listened to the whole album. Well, in fact, 2 CDs worth, isn't it, of an album, which is quite remarkable. And I was interested in the tagline for the group, which is a new art rock collective. Now, many people are describing it rather as a supergroup. Is that a term that you like? Do you think that term is appropriate?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me.
No.
You could call it a hootenanny if you like, as long as you like the music. I don't really care what people call it. I think that tagline came about where in discussions about what we were going to be, and also the reality that there would be some shift in the personnel and we'd also be bringing in guest artists, rather keep it open-ended. But my rule of thumb is just listen to the music, and you like it or you don't.
Absolutely.
That's how I view it. And I leave the rest up to the people in marketing.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an amazing lineup. And also, of course, you've got people like Jordan Rudess and Rob Townsend playing saxophone, and John Anderson adding some vocals as well. And, of course, they add even more of a prog pedigree to the music. So it must be really satisfying to be involved in a project with so many amazing musicians.
Yes. And not only that, but I am happy that I know and have worked with all of our guest musicians in other contexts. I admired Rob's saxophone playing since Renaissance and Steve Hackett Band toured together in 2010. And we got to talking through our downtime on the road and learned that we both enjoy a lot of the same music. And so I was glad that he was able to put his stamp on it. And, of course, John turned around the material, his guest spots so quickly. He again, like Royna, he just lives to create music, still going strong. And of course, Jordan is someone who I've known for many, many years, and we've worked together in his Key Fest, which is this keyboard workshop. But he's such a good supporter of the music scene. I mean, he used to come see my band on Tuesday nights in the city. When we were playing some random club, Jordan would be there, and he's such. Again, these guys are, what they all have in common is that they just create and they don't stop.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the album itself and the music on it. It's out on the 22nd of June, and you can pre-order it now. And I really do think it's remarkable. Now, quite a few people will know the Ashes of Dawn, which is the track which is released with the video, and that's a remarkable piece of work. I really do think it's fantastic. But that's not necessarily representative of everything on the album. Tell us about the amazing range of music on the album. How would you describe its sound and approach?
I think that let me just say that my approach is always been inspired by something Rick Wakeman said. And I might have even touched on this in my last interview with you. But to me, progressive music equals no rules.
Yeah.
I know not everybody feels that way. Some people have a checklist of elements that they want to see in order to identify the music as progressive. For me, I feel like as a writer, as a creator, as a performer, and as a complete musician, I need to take away any sort of barriers to the idea. The idea is paramount. So if I had an idea which was a 3-minute pop song, then that is the true and honest idea. If I had an idea that was a 20-minute prog opus, that is the honest and true idea. And so my efforts were just to let the floodgates open and just create whatever happened. And since we were all working from different parts of the world to begin with, we got the ball rolling by submitting demos to each other of things that we'd already worked on, which was really interesting because we didn't have any judgment or any preconceptions of what this project needed to be. We just said, here are my honest and true ideas. Check it out. That's why you end up with some songs like Ashes of Dawn, which have a heavier bent to them. And then also, some more of the tender moments.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that everyone listening to this interview will be delighted to hear that there's some wonderful, characterful Hammond organ playing on the album. But there's also, as you say, there's a sort of prog synth soloing and some pop chords in there and some jazzy solos. So it really does sound like that you were choosing, exactly as you say, what was appropriate for the song.
Yeah, that's another one of my, I guess, guiding principles, you would say, is that I just admire songwriting and great songwriters, and I always try to craft the song and use all of the other elements to serve the song.
Now, so it's very eclectic, that's absolutely right, but it does have a sort of solidity to it. I can see the structure to the album as you play it. But does that eclectic nature make it difficult for you, do you think, to define what the band does and who the band is?
I don't know. That's one of the beauties of just saying, yeah, we're progressive. I think that, honestly, early on in the sessions, I think, Daniel, when he came, he wanted to bring other perspectives to it, and he was actually a little averse to just calling it progressive, and that's why we end up with taglines like Art Rock Collective and things like that. But again, to me, it's just labeling, and I tried not to worry about that so much. So for me, I just say, hey, check out this new prog rock album. Yeah,
absolutely. So you've stressed that it is a band and it's an ongoing art rock collective, or whatever you want to call it. So is it important for the band to play live?
I think so. I mean, we're all live performers. And in fact, it would have been easier for us to just email each other our tracks from the beginning and just do a remote project, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of amazing collaborations happen now because it's so much easier to collaborate remotely, that it's opened up a lot of opportunities for real special music to happen. But with our case, it was very important that we all got together and played live in a room. Now, I know you're referring to playing in concert, but I think that the fact that we laid down the core of every song together and interacted with each other, I think that sort of speaks to the nature of each of us as musicians.
Yeah, I mean, and you've already alluded to the fact that Daniel Gildenlow, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is not joining in when you do the first live gigs, and Casey McPherson is going to be taking that role. So is that, having a different vocalist live, is that going to alter the experience of playing with the band, do you think?
We shall see. I honestly don't know, because we haven't done it yet, but I trust the musicianship and the quality of Casey. I mean, his reputation speaks for itself. It's great. Yeah. So I think we have no fear about how it's going to go. I mean, I don't know. Well, let's have a little danger, right? Like that makes life interesting, makes music interesting. Like let's see. I kind of have to just relish in the unpredictable nature of it.
Great. Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that you're starting a band now with the intention that perhaps members are going to come out and come in and do different things and take different roles. But have you talked about future plans, or are you just concentrating on what's happening now?
Right now, it's about getting this album out and seeing how it's received and seeing how we receive it after living with it for a while, and looking forward to these initial live shows and seeing what happens. I know Royna especially would love to tour everywhere, and we'll play as much as logistics will allow.
Well, I can certainly recommend the album. The rest of this podcast episode that we're going to be talking about the music itself after co-host Mark has listened to it and so on. But I can't let you go before we have a conversation about the Yes 50 fan convention, because you're going to be playing at that event. Are you looking forward to it?
Very much, yeah. I'm really happy that they invited me to be part of the celebration. The Yes Camp has been very supportive of me and what I do now, and I like that they've included me in their history. Yeah, I'm very, very excited to be part of it.
Great. And how important do you think it is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the band?
That's quite an accomplishment, right? I mean, because with every day, rock and roll is branching into uncharted territory. Because, I wonder, it might have been the first wave of head scratching might have happened when all the original rockers turned 40, right? It was like, hey, wait, we weren't kids anymore. And then everyone got used to that, and then it became a different thing. It's like, it's the classics now. So for a band, even if their personnel changes over the years, for a band to continue to perform and to record and to serve the fans for that many years, I think it's a testament, because we all know that Yes is a band that has taken its share of lumps with regard to critical reception. But they're still here, and they're still playing that music, and people are still loving Yes music. So make of that what you will.
Yeah. Well, for me, you're a very important part of the Yes story, and I shall always remember that magnification tour. And some of the things you've done more recently connected with Yes have also been remarkable as well. So, you know, the Band Geeks video, The South Side of the Sky, I absolutely loved. It's one of my favourite bits of YouTube. Yes, a story, and your understanding and love for the Yes music really comes out there. And you also did an improvisation on Yes music at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fan gathering recently. So is that the sort of thing you're going to be doing at the fan convention?
I think so. I'll probably be showcasing some of my original material and give a little bit of Yes infusion into the whole thing, because when I do my solo piano gigs, there's always a little bit of improv, and there's so much to draw from in the Yes catalog that I love, just sort of stringing ideas and motifs together.
So at that event, you're going to be there with Patrick Moraz, Tony Kaye, Jeff Downes. It's quite a keyboard lineup.
Yeah, we should just get a whole like dueling pianos thing, right? Dueling mellotrons or something.
That'll be fantastic.
Can I just say that I've actually worked with Patrick. He sat in with Renaissance on a couple of our dates in New Jersey, and we had sort of a quote duel. I like to call it a conversation, where we were just kind of going back and forth, and we just couldn't wipe the smiles off our faces. We were having so much fun, and I was cracking him up because I kept playing his classic Patrick Moraz licks back at him, and he, you know. He got a big kick out of that. But there's another person that I admire a lot, because he hasn't lost that youthful passion for being a musician, and I never want to lose that.
Absolutely. And original keyboard player, of course, Tony Kaye there. Is he someone whose style that you've always liked?
Absolutely. I am super stoked that Tony Kaye is going to be there. I am a huge Tony Kaye fan. I mean, you look at those old video clips of them playing in the initial, the Mark II, Yes, with Steve Howe, and he is just so rock solid and just such a authoritative rock and roll organ player. I love it.
Yeah, master of the Hammond organ, of course. And Jeff Downes, how would you compare his style?
Well, to me, Jeff was always about the writing and the soundscapes. You know, I mean, gee, I wouldn't mind if I woke up and I can say I wrote all the songs that Jeff Downes wrote. It would be, you know, I mean, because I love Buggles, and I grew up, you know, with Asia and everything, and so again, he took the progressive mold of what I would call like multi-keyboard orchestration and rock, and he bridged the 70s and the 80s. And you know, if you listen to Drama and you listen to the Asia records, and you know, Buggles in there too, he really had that knack for again, song-based playing with a lot of great texture.
Absolutely. Now, before you go, though, I'm going to have to ask you this question, which I would be shouted at if I didn't ask you. What are your views on the fact that we've got two versions of Yes at the moment?
Oh, I'm going to start Yes 3. Haven't you heard?
Well, it has been suggested.
Right? Yeah, well, come on. There's enough alumni to go around. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's difficult to talk about. I do go see both incarnations or both lineups whenever they're local, and I have good relationships with all of them. So, you know, maybe I'm the key to the super union, you know, Kevin, who knows, you know.
That would be fantastic. Well, but what are your hopes for the future of Yes?
I hope that the music continues with great musicians playing it for years to come. I think people deserve to go to a concert and hear that music performed live properly and with passion.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time. Very good luck with The Sea Within and also with the 50th anniversary of Yes. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. And I do look forward to the third version of Yes cropping up with you on the keyboard. It would be absolutely fantastic. But thank you very much indeed, Tom.
Thank you. Can I add one last thing? All joking aside about Yes 3, I am putting a project together to play this October at Prague Stock Festival, which will be the second Prague Stock Festival. It's held in New Jersey, so that's where I'm from, so it's very near and dear to me. I'm going to be working with some great young musicians, including members of Snarky Puppy, Lo-Fi Resistance, and it's going to be more new original music from me and from the people I'm collaborating with. You might even see some of the band geeks there.
Right.
But so I just wanted to put that out there and just say I thank the fans for their support and hope to see you all soon.
Brilliant. Right, thank you very much indeed, Tom.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
Okay, I haven't done this in a very long time. So, where is that button? I need to find that damn intro. Where is it? Here it is.
This is the YMP album review from the Great White North with Mark Anthony K.